The quiet gears of global regulatory power just locked up the engine of one of the world's most aggressive and successful business strategies. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has escalated its antitrust scrutiny into Microsoft's cloud licensing practices, specifically targeting the sophisticated mechanisms that link its dominant office productivity software to its Azure cloud platform. This is not a formal charge yet, but the investigation itself represents a critical, unavoidable headwind and an era-defining shift in the structure of the digital economy. It's a direct challenge to the fundamental premise of bundling, the core financial and technical strategy designed to collapse the company's rivals and secure its dominance in the trillion-dollar realm of cloud and artificial intelligence, AI. The deeper question beneath the headlines isn't about the legalities of a price discount, it's about the economic concept of vendor lock-in in critical systemic infrastructure. Cloud computing is the silent utility of the 21st century, and the cost and difficulty of switching providers, known as egress fees and restrictive licensing, creates an almost irreversible commercial commitment. Microsoft's strategy leveraged its near monopoly in enterprise software, like Windows Server and Office 365, to make it financially punishing for customers to run that software on a rival cloud platform. The FTC's intensified scrutiny reframes this commercial tactic not as aggressive competition, but as an abuse of pre-existing market power designed to create a digital bottleneck, fundamentally compromising market stability and fair access to the AI frontier. The surprising fact here is the historical parallel that this investigation intentionally invokes, the landmark US v. Microsoft antitrust case of the 1990s, which targeted the bundling of the Internet Explorer web browser with the Windows operating system. The modern parallel is structurally identical. The company is now accused of bundling its Office/Windows licenses with its Azure cloud platform to crush cloud rivals. This intentional callback is a strategic escalation, signaling that regulators view this as a repeat offense against competition itself, challenging the leverage of a monopoly in one layer, software, to illegally gain control of a new, emerging layer, cloud infrastructure. For the regular worker and small business owner, this matters because it impacts the fundamental economics of digital transformation. Restrictive licensing and high egress fees effectively reintroduce a massive hidden capex, the cost of leaving the platform, which disproportionately harms smaller firms and startups. Behavioral economics dictates that humans are highly loss-averse. The fear of triggering those massive switching costs creates a psychological paralysis, locking companies into a platform. The FTC is intervening to unlock this paralysis and force better outcomes for the broader business ecosystem. This US regulatory surge is now aligning with aggressive actions from Europe and the UK, creating a powerful, globally synchronized pressure point. The brilliance of Microsoft's cloud dominance strategy was not purely in its technology, but in the sophisticated economic and policy architecture built around it, designed to make rival cloud platforms financially toxic for its customers. The hidden mechanic is the differential pricing structure, a system known as penalty licensing. Microsoft offered massive discounts for running its foundational software, like Windows Server and SQL Server, on its own Azure cloud. The second a customer attempted to run that same software on a rival cloud, the price dramatically escalated. This is the economic equivalent of a massive hidden tariff applied by a private company to competing infrastructure. Psychologically, this strategy exploits the default bias of large enterprise customers. It's simply easier, safer, and cheaper to follow the path of least financial resistance, ensuring the entire legacy customer base flowed seamlessly into the new cloud business. The stakes are defined by the sheer value of the global cloud market, the foundational platform for the next decade of economic growth. But here's the part nobody expected. The regulatory challenge isn't just about software. It's about the strategic convergence of AI and cloud. The US investigation has expanded to scrutinize Microsoft's vast AI influence, particularly its deep partnership with OpenAI. The surprising mechanism is the technical leverage this relationship grants. The massive proprietary and uniquely integrated AI models and services, like Copilot, often function optimally or only when run within the Azure environment. This creates a new, even stronger layer of lock-in that transcends simple software licensing, a technological tie that binds a customer's access to the most advanced AI tools to the use of a single cloud infrastructure. This legal and economic battle matters to every tech worker and entrepreneur because it dictates the cost and speed of innovation. Restrictive licensing and bundling create massive entry barriers for new competitors in the cloud and AI space. A startup must either pay an inflated cost to run Microsoft software on a competing cloud or be forced to build entirely on Azure, limiting their ability to shop for the best price, features, or sovereign data controls. Behavioral economics refers to this as path dependence. Early decisions irreversibly skew all future strategic choices. The government's move is an attempt to inject market optionality back into the system, ensuring that competition is based on product quality and price, not on anti-competitive licensing leverage. The moment the US antitrust inquiry escalated, the ripple effect was immediately felt in the regulatory capitals of Europe and Asia. The global tech power structure is now watching the US not as a distant competitor, but as a forge for new antitrust weapons that can be immediately deployed against the same American tech giants. Other markets, particularly the European Union, EU, and the United Kingdom, UK, view the US action through the lens of regulatory harmonization and technological sovereignty. The EU has already taken a proactive stance with the Digital Markets Act, DMA, and the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, has specifically called out Microsoft's licensing practices. The US probe, however, offers a powerful new legal framing, a domestically driven Section 2 monopolization claim, which is seen as a more direct, surgical attack on core business practices. This is a psychological shift. US regulators are no longer seen as lagging behind Europe, but as potentially leading the charge with a more formidable legal tool. The historical parallel that underscores this global tension is the economic competition of the Cold War era. The current one is over digital infrastructure control. The surprising mechanism is the Brussels effect in reverse. Historically, the EU set regulations that US companies adopted globally. Now, the US is using its legal framework to demand interoperability and fair switching policies within its massive domestic market. This action strengthens the position of European cloud providers and Asian giants like Alibaba Cloud. It's a forced de-risking of the supply chain for the rest of the world, making it easier for every other nation to use the US champion software without being financially locked to its infrastructure. For countries around the world, this is a lesson in power structure insight. Cloud dominance enables a form of digital colonialism where a few foreign hyperscalers control the core data and processing of a nation's government and industry. By undermining Microsoft's lock-in, the US regulator provides an institutional template for other countries to assert their own digital autonomy. Behavioral economics suggests that nations, like companies, are driven by strategic mimicry. The global regulatory alignment has created a profound moment of instability in the cloud market, forcing not just Microsoft, but every hyperscaler to rethink their core business model. The immediate, palpable consequence of this regulatory pressure is the collapse of the cloud market's financial walls, creating a massive wave of cost savings and a fundamental reallocation of power in the technology workforce. The mandate to reduce or eliminate penalty licensing and high egress fees immediately impacts the unit economics of every company using the cloud. For families and workers, this translates directly to lower costs for digital services and increased economic opportunity. By reducing the financial penalty of switching, companies can now aggressively pursue a multi-cloud strategy, shopping for the best price for compute, storage, and AI services. This increased competition forces all providers to lower their prices or innovate faster. The system at play is the democratization of computing power. The part the media isn't discussing is the silent shift in the technological talent market. Microsoft's strategy rewarded engineers who designed lock-in mechanisms. The regulatory intervention forces a massive mandatory reallocation of talent and capital toward interoperability and data portability. There is an immediate surge in demand for cloud migration specialists, data governance architects, and engineers who specialize in building platforms that are cloud agnostic. This creates a new, high demand skill set and fundamentally shifts career stability and wage growth toward professionals who enable choice and flexibility, not those who enforce exclusivity. For the individual consumer, this directly addresses the core anxiety of digital life, the feeling of being trapped. The psychological benefit is the restoration of agency over personal and corporate data. If a customer knows they can move their data easily and cheaply, they are no longer dependent on any single entity. This is a critical insight from social psychology. Perceived control over a system, even if rarely exercised, dramatically increases trust and satisfaction. This collapse of the cloud lock-in strategy is a historical pattern interrupt, ensuring that the next wave of technological progress, the AI revolution, will be built on a foundation of competition, not coerced dependency. Because while everyone is focused on the legal settlement, the real shift is already happening somewhere else. The quiet, multi-trillion-dollar race to build a truly decentralized, verifiable digital identity layer that will finally transfer ultimate power from the platform to the individual.